All eyes were on him. The spotlights are on. The opening music fills the studio. And when the name Jungkook was called in Jimmy Fallon's explosive style, not only the studio audience cheered, the virtual world thundered. But no one expected that one simple answer from Jungkook would be the spark for a global furor that has not even subsided until now. What exactly did he say? Why do millions of hearts suddenly melt just because of one brief moment? This is the story that shook the entertainment universe, recreating Jungkook's fever at a level we never even imagined before. When Jungkook entered the Tonight Show studio starring Jimmy Fallon, the aura he carried was not just the charm of an idol. There's something different. There is calmness, but in that calmness lies such a deep charisma. Jimmy, who is commonly known as a relaxed and humorous host, looked a little more serious that night, as if he knew that night was not just an ordinary episode. Something extraordinary is coming to the surface. The interview began as usual. Laughter was thrown, and Jimmy dug up some hot topics around military service, BTS, to the rumors that were circulating. But in the middle of the conversation, as the atmosphere began to feel warmer and more personal, Jimmy threw in one question that instantly changed everything. Jungkook, now that you've been through so much, especially with the military service, the solo career, the world watching you, what's something personal that you've realized about yourself that you've never said before? A simple question, but deep. And Jungkook fell silent. Silence. His eyes looked at the floor, then turned to look at the audience. His hands played between his fingers, and his breathing was slightly restrained. Jimmy, noticing the change in atmosphere, fell silent. And in that silence, Jungkook finally opened his voice. A quiet yet explosive sound for anyone who hears it. I realized. During this time, I often forget one important thing. I forgot to love myself. Boom.as if the world stopped turning. The studio was silent. The audience suddenly shrugged. And on Twitter, the hashtag Jungkook self-love began to explode in seconds. Not because of that sentence alone, but because of the way Jungkook said it. Full of feelings, without a hint of contrition. That's not a script. It's not part of the promotion. It was a heartfelt, personal, and surprising statement from someone who has been considered a symbol of perfection by millions of people around the world. But that's just the beginning. After making the confession, Jungkook continued with a short but heartbreaking story about the times when he was alone in a military hostel, without cameras, without a stage, without cheers. She said, "Back then, I was sitting alone on a cold night, and I asked myself, would I still be loved if I wasn't BTS's Jungkook? Am I loved because of me, or because of the image people make of me?" Those words echoed in the hearts of anyone who watched it. An existential question from the young man who has always been considered an impeccable figure. Behind the laughter and charm, there are wounds. There is emptiness. And Jungkook dared to share it with the world. In that moment, it wasn't just the army that was crying. Even netizens who have not followed K-pop have been touched. However, the most electrifying was not only that. At the end of the segment, Jimmy, clearly affected by the emotional atmosphere, asks gently, "What do you wish people would know about you now?" And to the surprise of no one, Jungkook smiled, such a sincere and deadly little smile, and said, "I want them to know. I'm not a hero. I'm just a boy who wants to be loved unconditionally." Again, boom. Silence. Cries were heard from the audience seats. Even Jimmy was seen wiping away tears. And within seconds of the broadcast airing, the entire social media platform exploded. Hashtags such as hashtag JungkookBoyNextDoor, hashtag LoveWithoutConditions, hashtag FallForJK again immediately dominated the global trending topic. In South Korea, the reaction came from various quarters. Celebrities, politicians, and even psychologists began to review Jungkook's statements as a form of extraordinary courage of a public figure who dared to show his vulnerability. However, not all responses were positive. Some have called Jungkook's statement a drama to attract sympathy or a sneaky move to revive the popularity of his solo career. But ARMY and netizens who better understand the emotional side of the statement defended desperately. They wrote long threads on Twitter, reaction videos on YouTube, and open letters in the online community describing how the moment touched them personally. More than viral, the moment on The Tonight Show was a turning point. Not only for Jungkook, but also for the world of K-pop entertainment that has been too hard to demand perfection. Jungkook's honesty opened up a big discussion about mental health, self-love, and how the industry should start to be more humane in treating their idols. After the show, many people returned to watch the interview footage many times. Some edit it with plaintive music. Someone did the animation. Someone even wrote a poem from every sentence Jungkook said. Jungkook, in one night, has created an unstoppable wave of love and sympathy. Netizens from all over the world confess to falling in love again, not in good looks, not in voice, but in a soul so sincere and full of wounds that it dared to show. And therein lies its strength. Jungkook is not trying to be perfect. He is showing that he is human, a young human being who grew up under pressure, in the spotlight, yet still managed to touch millions of hearts with a simple phrase, "I want to be loved unconditionally." After a night that will never be forgotten, global media moved quickly. CNN, BBC, and Japan's NHK reported how one answer from a South Korean idol could change the world's perception of celebrity, humanity, and the loneliness behind popularity. It wasn't just entertainment news that highlighted him. Even political and social discussion programs began to dissect the contents of Jungkook's interview in depth. The world realizes one thing. We have for too long demanded perfection from people who also have the same wounds, hopes, and fears as us. The ARMY community, which is known to be solid and full of love, immediately moved to flood social media with messages of support. Fan art themed "Love Without Conditions" exploded on Twitter and Instagram. Some depict Jungkook sitting under the night sky with himself, clutching his wounded heart. Others describe the interview scene as illustrated in anime style, with tears in Jungkook's eyes and Jimmy Fallon placing his hand on the idol's shoulder. The hashtags #ProtectJungkook, #YouAreLovedJK, and #UnconditionalLoveForJK became magnets for the outpouring of hearts of fans from various countries. I never felt enough until I heard Jungkook say that he also felt unloved because of himself. Now I know I'm not alone, wrote one Brazilian fan. In South Korea, a community of anxiety disorder survivors sent an open letter to Jungkook, thanking him for his courage. The letter was then read out on national television. It was heartbreaking. You may not realize it, but your words saved our lives. However, the most surprising reaction came from the internal circles of the entertainment industry. Some artist agencies are beginning to consider major changes in their approach to idols' mental health. One senior executive from a well-known agency said anonymously in an interview with the Korea Herald, "What Jungkook did was not only open his own eyes, but open the eyes of all of us that idols are also human. They need space to feel enough." Shortly after, Big Hit Entertainment, now HYB Labels, issued an official statement. They confirmed that what Jungkook said was his personal inner voice, without any direction from the company. But the most interesting is the closing sentence in the statement: "We stand with Jungkook, not as a product of industry, but as a human being who grows, learns, and deserves to be loved like no one else."